Welcome back to Good Day. It's time for our Mother Knows Best panel. Now, before we get started, we have to tell everybody about what's happening on Saturday. Yeah. We're very excited that these lovely ladies, you'll be able to meet them at the What Women Want event. It's going on at Doublegate Country Club on Saturday, and you can find out more information on the Cumulus radio station's websites, but it is put on by Cumulus, but Phoebe Putney Memorial Hospital is the sponsor. They're going to be having all kinds of shopping, all kinds of health screenings, Zumbas, I mean, like all kinds of different things. So make sure to get on over there. But we'll be doing some Mother Knows Best panels that day, and you'll be able to meet them as well. Fox 31 will have a booth set up, and you guys can come by and talk with them. But so excited about that. Can't wait. Yeah. But today we are talking about after-school activities. Now, school has started back, and soon, I'm sure, if you haven't already, during the summer, gotten sign-ups for sports, cheerleading, dance, what have you. How do you handle it if your child wants to do it all?
Quickly tell them that they can't. Quickly, you know, because I have 3 kids in 3 different schools, and there's a vast, I don't want to say a vast age difference between them, but I got 2 teens and then a 10-year-old son. So we have to kind of sit down and really weigh our options and see what's most important and what's most beneficial for them all, because it's a lot of traveling, it's a lot of practices, after school meetings, and somebody's going to get neglected if we don't make sound decisions when it comes to that. Yeah.
We want to try and make sure that they realize that you can't do it all. No matter your whole life, you can't do it all. So you got to pick and choose, and have them really sit down and think, well, if you do this, remember you're not going to be able to do that, and have them kind of think through what's the schedule going to mean to you. And I also try and clue my kids onto the cost of all these activities, because if we do all this, we're not going to have money for that. Is that okay with you? Yeah. And so it kind of helps them, you know, sort of weigh in on this decision.
But I think you always have to keep in mind the homework, because, I mean, that's such a huge part of it. And kids are going to be real quick to let the homework slide to go practice ball or something like that. So, you know, you have to realistically see how much time we have to set aside every day for that to make sure, because that's the most important thing, or that the grades are kept up.
I also give them parameters. You know, I tell them they can have 1 sports and 1 non-sports activity, because I have 3 at home right now too. And luckily, my 2 boys have chosen the same thing. They have scouts as their non-sports things. Yeah, so that really helps, because other things do come up anyway, you know, during the year. So, you know, it's nice to have those margins built in a little bit if you can at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. How do you handle the cost? I remember, I mean, just, you know, cheerleading shoes alone costed almost close to $100. And then when you think about all the families that, what if you can't afford that? Do you know, like, do schools have options to help, or do you kind of have to raise money for that? How does it work?
I've always tried, as being I have 9 grandchildren, to come in, and the other grandparents will too, and say, let us help with some of these extracurricular things, because you know, while we can't go buy all their back to school clothes because we have 9, but if it's kind of spread out during the year, maybe we can shoot you $50 here to help with the cost of the shoes or the pictures or whatever it would be. So I would say definitely, you know, call on extended families, say, you know, this is important, this is family, we're all supporting this child in this endeavor. Can you help out a little bit with that?
Yeah, we've been very blessed to have generous grandparents as well.
That's so nice.
You know, my father-in-law taught music for 35 years in the school system, and it was very important that his children have a musical education. So he covers our musical lessons the years that we do them. So, you know, that helps.
Yeah. And as a single parent, you know, there are not a lot of places to go. And to be honest, I am really upfront with the schools or with the different sponsors to say, you know, my child really, really wants this activity, but I can't pay all the fees at this time. Can you please work with me? And if I can let them know I can pay this amount now and kind of give them a payment schedule, and I stick to my word, what I find is most of the schools, and particularly the public schools around here, very willing to work with a parent who is willing to try.
That's very good. So just ask, basically. All you have to do is ask.
Right.
And communication is so important. Yeah. You know, definitely.
In addition to, because we have supporting grandparents too, but then other moms and parents who has kids that are maybe graduating or may not be particularly pursuing that particular program, a lot of times they'll sell you whatever they have left that that child no longer wants it, or they can refer you to sites where you can get, if you need a band instrument, you know, for cheaper, or a website that's going to help out. So it helps really to talk with the other parents too that's in the program, because you'll get a lot of resources that way.
When you have, I know a couple of you said, well, your boys are in the same one, so that helps. But if you have kids who have multiple events on on the same night, how do you handle that?
Travis and I usually have to split up, and he goes to one. I know for a while there, when they were having the open houses, he was having to go to one open house, and I was having to go to another. Was really helping me. Last night I was working on that binder that I showed you all a few weeks ago, and I've got the calendar. One of the programs that Brianna wants to be in this year has already given us the calendar for the year.
Oh, wow.
And so that really, really works, because I can go ahead, and so when Michaela, she's going to be in Beta Club this year, TJ's still trying to find, he's not into sports, he's more into robotics and stuff, so it's kind of, I'm trying to find something that's going to help him in that area. So when they bring their calendars, it's going to help us to really be able to go through and say, okay, we can do this. So parents, it helps that parents are organized as well, because we can't expect the kids to do something that we struggle with our own selves a lot of times. So.
And you know, Kelly, Bridget's comment sort of reminds me of one of the issues that I face with my children, and that is, what you're talking about, TJ. What if you have that child who really doesn't want to join anything?
Yeah.
They, you know, they just, I don't want any extracurricular. I'm content to stay home, do my homework, and do video games the rest of the time. And we struggle with that quite a bit. So
We're going to come back in just a second to hear what Tracy has to say about what she's learned and her solution to that. Stick with us. We'll be right back in just a moment. Welcome back. We are doing our Mother Knows Best panel, and we've been talking about after-school activities. Now, when we left off, Tracy was just saying about how, you know, what if your child doesn't have anything after school they found that they want to do? What should you do to help them figure out some after-school activities?
Well, as we were discussing on the break, that was the case for my son TJ, because he loves to play his Wii games, but I did not want him to become one of those video gamers that didn't do anything else. And so it helped when we started paying attention. He loves his Transformer games, and so that helped us to, you know, kind of direct him, and he's recently really fell in love with doing the engineering, robotics type things. He's been taking old boxes and building these big, huge skyscrapers in his room. We ordered him a robot kit. He built his very first solar-powered robot this summer. So he loves it. He loves making, and actually when I think about it, he's always done that. I mean, he's always been curious about electricity, and I'm not going to even get into the stories that I have on that. But I mean, he's always been curious, and his video games match what he likes, and that's what he's been into. Building skyscrapers with boxes and robotics.
So pay attention
to the video games and just kind of detour them over in that area. Yeah.
okay, I'm going to give it a try.
That is good. Okay, let's talk about maybe once they figure out, like, I want to do this, they get a little bit into it, and then they want to quit. They don't want to do it anymore. Do you let them quit, or do you say, you know, stick with it, see if you like it? How do you handle that?
It depends on why they want to quit.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, my middle daughter, I'm very proud of all of my kids. Michaela sometimes get intimidated if she can't quite figure something out, and she'll put it down. And in that area, then no, you're going to have to, you know, and let me see how can I help you, or if I can't do it, or if Daddy can't do it, let's help find somebody that knows more about it. But if it's one of those things where, you know, they just want to do it because they feel, you know, they're tired, or you know,
It's just hard.
Yeah, it's just hard. Life is hard, you know, so that's a no-no in our house, you know, but it depends on why.
And we talk about that before. You know, if they're starting something new, we tell them this is a commitment for the year, especially if it's a team sport, or just something team-related, you know, because people are depending on you, and you can't just because it's hard or you get bored with it or something. So you have to give it a year, and I don't make them really after, you know, more than that, stick to it, but they should learn.
And I think it's really important to sit down and talk to them to find out why it is that they're having this issue. Is it maybe another child that they're having a problem with? This is the real reason they don't want to go. And you know, with Charles, who is our nephew that we have at home now, and the thing that we always say to him is, if you try your best, if you really put your best effort out there, and then it still doesn't work, then you know, it's okay. All I can ask is that you try your best.
Yeah.
Very good. We're going to be back in just a moment to talk more with our Mother Knows Best panel. Stay with us. We are back with more Mother Knows Best, but this time we're talking about keeping up with the Joneses. We've got the Kardashians now. I guess that'd be the better way to put it. But back in the day, it was the Joneses that everybody was keeping up with. But how do you handle that? Let's start out with, I'm sure you just handled it, back to school shopping, getting the clothes. Is that a problem that you guys see, or how have you handled it?
Clothes isn't the problem in my house. It is electronics. Oh my goodness. I mean, you know, 8- and 9-year-olds with iPhones. How do you compete with that? You know, and we just tell our kids when you're actually the two milestones for them are when they're driving, and when they can pay their portion of the bill. I mean, I just don't believe it's not a necessity. A phone is not a necessity.
Yeah. And see, I'm somebody, I grew up during the time when my friends were wearing Reeboks at school. I was getting the white shoes from the Family Dollar. You remember those white shoes you used to be able to get? So that's never, I mean,
still sell them.
They still do? But for me, with my kids, for my girls, it's fashion. For TJ, it's electronics. And so it's one of those things where you have to teach them, you know, okay, you have to ask them, why do you want it? How is it going to help you? You know, I do the 30 questions type deal with them. I don't want my kids to always feel like they've got to put themselves in debt just to make their self feel like that they're just as important as the next person. And if you don't need it, mom and dad are not going to put themselves in debt as well. This is teaching you financial responsibility, and it's teaching you to be happy with what you have. And I think one of the worst things a parent can do is to constantly give to their child so that they can feel just as special as the next kid, because that's not a great way to boost your child's self-esteem.
I mean, personal debt is at an all-time high.
Yep.
So what that says is that we, as parents, are putting ourselves out there for our kids to have this. Now, they have no clue, you know, a concept of what that means. But by the time they get older, if they're used to having all this stuff, it's really, it could be horrible consequences for them. So we really aren't doing them any favors, just giving it all to them.
I confess to my
Keep
kid,
it real.
Yeah, I
Yes,
am
keep
keeping
it
it real.
real.
My kids want to keep up with the Kardashians, and I let them. But I'm not. I understand your point, and I totally agree that parents who give everything are making huge mistakes. But I'll use the iPhone as an example. My younger teenage daughter wanted an iPhone so badly, and she wanted it to keep up with the Joneses. And I said, okay, well, here's what you have to do in your math class that you're struggling with in order to get that iPhone. And the standard was high, but it was achievable. And she worked and worked and worked. And when she called me and said, Mom, I made the highest math score in my class today, I said, girlfriend, I'll have your iPhone when I get home.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you have goals like that, I mean, do you feel like that is a good, helpful thing to be able to, as a reward for things that they're doing, achievements that they're accomplishing?
I think it has to be a balance, like what Pat was talking about. Because I mean, obviously, if you can't afford it, don't reward it. But yeah, I think it's worthwhile. I mean, it's working at our house. That's all I can say.
Well, goals are never a bad thing. You know, to have kids work up to goals.
Well, the way that I know, because I am a bargain shopper, when I go in a store, I head straight to the clearance rack. And one of my grandsons just turned 16. He's in Florida. So we were texting. I said, you know, go find a couple of shirts or something you like online for Grandma to get you for your birthday. Well, he did go to American Eagle, but both of his shirts were on clearance that he wanted for his birthday. So
You taught him
I am
well.
teaching him, you can wear the nice things, but you don't have to pay, you know, $40 for a shirt. If you just wait a few weeks, you can get it for $11.99.
Very good. We're going to be back in just a moment talking more about these Joneses that everybody wants to keep up with. Stay with us. We're back with Mother Knows Best, talking about keeping up with the Joneses. Now that schools have kind of started implementing that you can use tablets, you can use cell phones as part of the learning process, do you think that that's going to cause kids to have this, already they were kind of doing judging by clothes, who had what. Now, is this a new element that's being brought in, who has the best brand of tablet, or if they don't have it, are they going to feel forced to get one?
I mean, I picture my kids being at home and at school and seeing all the other kids with the tablets and the violins playing. And I don't want them to feel that way. So I do feel like to some degree it's going to make some kids feel bad.
Absolutely.
Because they don't have the next thing, and then, you know, with technology you can do things so much quicker. So yeah, it's going to be bittersweet in that area.
I would think they're going to feel left out, and I don't really know how they're going to be able to teach when some have tablets and some don't. This is the first I'd heard about that. So, I mean, but one thing, this is a little bit off of what you just said, but one thing that I always worked on with my kids, and as y'all can tell, I'm a little bit of an individual here. I've been called some other things, but we'll go with individual. I like that one best. And I've always tried to tell my kids and my grandkids, you know, be who you are. I had a conversation with the same grandson who did the clearance shopping thing, because he was wearing a mohawk because all of his friends were wearing a mohawk. You know, he didn't have his head shaved, but had this going up there. He said, "You have such beautiful hair when you grow it out. You know, it's so pretty, and just, you know, what do you feel the most comfortable with?" And he wound up letting it grow back out and wearing it the way that he liked to. So I think it's really about telling them, you know, this is how you can be who you are and express yourself through your hair and your clothes and your things. And you don't want to look. I don't want to look like everybody else.
That's good.
When you look like everybody else, you don't stand out. And it helps to always know, even though I have a computer, I like keeping a paper trail, because sometimes technology fails. And it's very important for my kids to know that how to be able to thumb through a textbook to find something real quick instead of going on a computer, because sometimes the computer won't be up and you want to be able to still be able to do the research.
Real quick, how does TV and magazines and the things they see on there, you know, influence what they want?
I think it's a huge influence. Of course, my kids, they love the fashion magazines. My teenagers love the fashion magazines, and they see it and they want it. We have to use that as a teaching tool to say, okay, you can't have the $100 shirt, but you can, you know, we can go somewhere and find something similar style, but it's definitely a motivator for them to want to consume more and more and more.
Yeah, marketers are definitely doing their job very well, making us well. But you know, I, like you said too, if you use it as a teaching tool, and then we actually don't have cable, so you know, our TV is limited to when we go to my mother-in-law's or we go to a friend's house or whatever. But you know, my husband and I are very famous for, wait, let's stop. Now, what's that message in that commercial? You know, is that true? And things like that, and help them to learn how to analyze things.
Well, thank you guys so much for all of your insight today. Make sure to come on out, ladies, on Saturday to the What Women Want event. We will all be there. We're excited to talk with you. We'll be doing a little mock panel going on, so come on out and see what all these lovely ladies have to say. They'd love to meet you. And get on over to mysouthwestga.com and look up Mother Knows Best so you can find out more about them if you can't come on Saturday. We'll see you in the morning at 5 a.m.